There are moments in life when the silence feels heavier than words. Moments when you look around and feel like nobody truly understands what you are carrying inside your heart. You may smile in front of others while fighting battles they know nothing about. You may make dua through tears, wondering whether anyone hears your pain. In those lonely moments, the shaitan wants you to believe that you have been forgotten, abandoned, or left to face your struggles alone. But the truth is far more beautiful. Allah is closer than you can imagine. He sees every tear that falls when nobody is watching. He hears every prayer whispered in the darkness of the night. He knows every fear, every worry, and every burden hidden deep within your heart. Sometimes His answer does not arrive in the way we expect, but it always arrives with wisdom, mercy, and perfect timing. Today, we will explore how Allah responds when a believer feels completely alone, and how His signs of care and love continue to surround us, even in our most difficult moments. One of the most beautiful ways Allah answers a person when they feel alone is through a sense of comfort and peace that cannot be explained by worldly means. There are moments in life when a person reaches a stage where they feel exhausted, emotionally, mentally, and even spiritually. They may have spoken to people but still feel misunderstood. They may have searched for solutions but found none. They may have cried in private, carrying burdens they cannot fully express to anyone around them. In those moments, loneliness can feel overwhelming. It can feel as though nobody truly understands what is happening inside the heart. Many people think that Allah's answer must always come in the form of an immediate change in circumstances. They expect the problem to disappear overnight, the hardship to end instantly, or the situation to improve right away. While Allah is certainly capable of changing everything in a single moment, His answers often arrive in ways that are deeper and more meaningful than we expect. Sometimes before changing the situation, Allah changes the heart. Before removing the storm, He gives strength to walk through it. Before opening a new door, He fills the heart with patience and trust. A person may go to sleep one night feeling completely overwhelmed. Their worries are the same. Their challenges have not disappeared. The people who hurt them may still be present. The difficulties they face may remain unresolved. Yet somehow they wake up feeling lighter than before. The burden is still there, but their heart feels different. They feel calmer. They feel more hopeful. They feel capable of facing another day. This is not a coincidence. Sometimes this is a gift from Allah, a form of comfort that enters the heart without warning and without explanation. Peace is one of the greatest blessings Allah can place in a person's life, because peace does not depend on circumstances. There are people who possess wealth but have no peace. There are people who have popularity but struggle with anxiety. There are people who seem successful in the eyes of others but feel empty inside. Then there are believers who may be facing challenges, yet they possess a calmness that cannot be purchased, borrowed, or created through worldly means. That calmness comes from knowing that Allah is in control. When someone feels alone, they often begin focusing on what they have lost. They think about the people who left them, the opportunities that disappeared, the dreams that did not work out, or the expectations that were never fulfilled. This is a natural human reaction. However, Allah often answers loneliness by gently redirecting the heart toward His presence. Instead of constantly focusing on who walked away, the believer begins noticing who never left. Instead of dwelling only on closed doors, they begin recognizing the countless blessings that still surround them. There are moments when a person raises their hands in dua and pours out everything they have been carrying inside. They speak honestly to Allah about their fears, disappointments, and struggles. They cry because they feel like nobody else understands. After that sincere conversation with their Creator, something changes. The problems may remain exactly the same, but the heart feels relieved. The loneliness feels less intense. The fear begins to decrease. This is one of the most beautiful forms of Allah's response. The human heart was created to connect with Allah. When that connection becomes stronger, a person begins finding comfort in places they never expected. Reading a verse of the Quran suddenly feels personal. A simple reminder touches the heart deeply. A prayer that was once routine becomes a source of peace. The believer starts experiencing moments where they feel Allah's mercy surrounding them even during difficult circumstances. Sometimes Allah answers loneliness through gratitude. This may sound surprising because gratitude is usually associated with blessings and happiness. However, when a person begins appreciating the blessings they still possess, their perspective changes. They start noticing things they previously overlooked. They recognize the gift of health, family, faith, opportunities, and even the ability to turn to Allah. Slowly, loneliness loses some of its power because the heart becomes occupied with remembering Allah's favors instead of focusing only on what is missing. There are also times when Allah answers through unexpected moments of reassurance. A person may hear a Quran recitation that speaks directly to their situation. They may come across a reminder at exactly the moment they needed it. They may hear words of encouragement that seem perfectly timed. These moments often remind believers that Allah is fully aware of what they are experiencing. When loneliness becomes intense, the mind can create dangerous assumptions. A person may start believing that nobody cares about them, that their future will never improve, or that they will always feel this way. Yet Allah's comfort often arrives by replacing those assumptions with hope. The believer begins realizing that difficult feelings are temporary. Emotions change, circumstances change, seasons of life change. What feels permanent today may become a distant memory tomorrow. One of the remarkable things about Allah's comfort is that it often arrives quietly. It does not always come with dramatic events. Sometimes it is simply the strength to continue. Sometimes it is the ability to smile again after weeks of sadness. Sometimes it is the motivation to keep making dua despite feeling discouraged. Sometimes it is the courage to face another day when giving up seemed easier. Many believers can look back on difficult periods of their lives and remember moments when they felt completely alone. At the time, they thought they would never recover from the pain. They thought the sadness would never end. They thought the loneliness would last forever. Yet Allah carried them through those days one step at a time. Looking back, they realized that His comfort was present even when they did not fully recognize it. The beauty of Allah's response is that He knows exactly what each heart needs. Some people need strength, some need patience, some need reassurance, some need hope, some need healing. Allah provides these gifts in ways that are perfectly suited to each individual. What comforts one person may differ from what comforts another, but His mercy reaches everyone who sincerely turns to Him. There are times when a believer feels weak and wonders whether their prayers are making any difference. Yet every sincere dua builds a connection with Allah. Every moment of remembrance strengthens the heart. Every act of trust brings a person closer to the peace they seek. Even when answers seem delayed, Allah is working in ways that may not yet be visible. A person who once felt completely alone can eventually find themselves filled with gratitude because they realize that the period of loneliness taught them something precious. It taught them how to depend on Allah. It taught them how to find strength in faith. It taught them that true peace does not come from people, possessions, or circumstances. It comes from the one who controls all things and whose mercy never abandons those who turn to Him sincerely. One of the most remarkable ways Allah answers a person when they feel alone is by sending the right people into their life at exactly the right time. Human beings were not created to live completely isolated from one another. Allah created us to support, encourage, and help each other through different seasons of life. Yet there are moments when loneliness becomes so overwhelming that a person begins to believe nobody understands them. Nobody notices their struggles, and nobody truly cares about what they are going through. During those difficult moments, Allah often reminds us of His mercy through people He places along our path. Sometimes a person may spend weeks or even months carrying a burden silently. They smile in public, continue with their responsibilities, and appear strong on the outside, but inside they are struggling. They may be dealing with disappointment, grief, uncertainty, or emotional pain. They may feel as though nobody sees what they are carrying. Then, unexpectedly, someone reaches out with a kind message, a sincere conversation, or words of encouragement that arrive at exactly the right moment. To others, it may seem like a small act, but to the person receiving it, it feels like a lifeline. It feels like Allah is reminding them that they have not been forgotten. One of the beautiful realities of life is that Allah can use ordinary people to deliver extraordinary comfort. A friend may call without knowing how much that conversation is needed. A family member may offer support at the exact moment someone feels overwhelmed. A stranger may share a reminder that speaks directly to a person's situation. These moments are often much more than coincidences. They are signs of Allah's care and attention toward His servants. There are times when we expect help to come from specific people. We believe certain individuals will always be there for us because of our history with them or the closeness of the relationship. But sometimes those people are not the ones Allah chooses to use. Instead, support comes from unexpected places. Someone we barely know may show more kindness than those we expected the most from. Someone who was never part of our plans may become a source of encouragement and strength. This teaches an important lesson about reliance. While Allah often helps us through people, our ultimate trust should remain with Him. People are means through which Allah's mercy reaches us, but they are not the source of that mercy. When a believer understands this, they begin appreciating people without becoming completely dependent upon them. They recognize that every kind person, every helpful word, and every supportive gesture is ultimately a blessing from Allah. Sometimes loneliness develops because a person experiences disappointment from others. They trusted someone who broke that trust. They expected loyalty, but faced betrayal. They hoped for understanding but encountered judgment instead. These experiences can cause a person to withdraw emotionally and become fearful of opening their heart again. Yet Allah's mercy often appears through new relationships that gradually restore hope. A person who has been hurt may meet someone whose kindness reminds them that goodness still exists. They may encounter a mentor who provides guidance when they feel lost. They may find a community that welcomes them when they feel excluded elsewhere. These blessings often arrive quietly, but they can transform someone's entire outlook on life. There are also moments when Allah sends people who challenge us to grow, rather than simply comfort us. Not every helpful person enters our lives to tell us what we want to hear. Sometimes Allah places individuals around us who encourage us to improve, strengthen our faith, and become better versions of ourselves. At first, this guidance may feel difficult to accept, but over time we realize it was exactly what we needed. One of the greatest gifts Allah can send during lonely seasons is someone who reminds us of Him. There are people whose presence increases faith. Their words encourage patience. Their actions inspire sincerity. Their advice helps us return to Allah when we feel distant. Such people are among the most valuable blessings a believer can have because they help strengthen both worldly and spiritual well-being. Many people can remember specific moments when someone entered their life during a difficult season and made a lasting impact. Perhaps it was a teacher who believed in them when they doubted themselves. Perhaps it was a friend who listened without judgment. Perhaps it was a family member who offered support during a time of hardship. Looking back, they realized that Allah knew exactly who they needed and when they needed them. Sometimes the answer to loneliness is not a large group of people, Modern society often creates the impression that happiness comes from having countless friends, followers, or social connections. Yet many people surrounded by crowds still feel lonely. Allah's answer is often quality rather than quantity. One sincere person can bring more comfort than 100 superficial relationships. One trustworthy friend can make a greater difference than a large circle of people who are only present during easy times. There are seasons when Allah intentionally allows a person to feel alone for a period. This can be difficult, but it often serves a purpose. During those moments, the believer learns to strengthen their connection with Allah before becoming attached to people again. Then, when the right individuals arrive, the relationship is healthier and more balanced. The person appreciates companionship without making it the center of their life. Another beautiful aspect of Allah's wisdom is timing. Human beings often want immediate solutions. We want support to arrive the moment we start struggling. But Allah's timing is perfect. Sometimes He delays certain blessings because there are lessons we need to learn first. Sometimes He allows us to experience loneliness so we can better appreciate the people He eventually sends into our lives. A person may look back years later and realize that if certain individuals had entered their life earlier, they would not have recognized their value. They may have been too distracted, too immature, or focused on the wrong priorities. Allah knew the exact moment when their heart would be ready to benefit from those relationships. Even small acts of kindness can become powerful answers from Allah. A smile, an encouraging message, a sincere dua, a helping hand, or a simple conversation can change someone's entire day. We often underestimate the impact of these actions because we do not know what struggles others are carrying. The person sitting beside us may be fighting a battle we know nothing about. Our kindness may become the very thing Allah uses to ease their burden. This should also inspire believers to become a source of comfort for others. Just as Allah sends people to help us, He may choose to use us to help someone else. We may be the answer to another person's loneliness through our compassion, support, and sincere concern. Every act of kindness has the potential to carry immense value because Allah can place blessings within even the simplest gestures. When a believer reflects on the people who have entered their life during difficult moments, they often see evidence of Allah's care everywhere. They realize that support arrived when it was needed most. Encouragement appeared when hope was fading. Guidance came when confusion was overwhelming. Through these relationships, Allah reminds His servants that they are seen, valued, and cared for, even during the seasons when loneliness tries to convince them otherwise. One of the most powerful ways Allah answers a person when they feel alone is by using that difficult season to bring them closer to Him and prepare something better for their future. This is often the answer that people struggle to recognize because loneliness can feel painful. When a person is surrounded by silence, when support seems limited, when life does not unfold according to their plans, they naturally focus on what they are losing. Yet many times, Allah is working on something much greater behind the scenes. Loneliness has a unique way of revealing what truly occupies the heart. When life is busy, when people constantly surround us, and when everything seems to be moving quickly, it is easy to become distracted. We become occupied with responsibilities, conversations, social expectations, and endless daily concerns. In the middle of all that noise, our connection with Allah can sometimes become weaker without us even realizing it. We may still pray and worship, but our hearts are often pulled in many different directions. Then a season arrives where things become quieter. Perhaps certain people leave. Perhaps plans do not work out as expected. Perhaps disappointments create distance between us and the things we once relied upon. Suddenly we find ourselves spending more time alone than before. At first, this can feel uncomfortable. We search for ways to fill the emptiness. We try to distract ourselves from the pain. We wonder why life has changed so dramatically. But often, this is the very moment when Allah begins drawing a person closer to Him. A person who once only made quick du'as may begin having longer conversations with Allah. Someone who previously rushed through prayer may start finding comfort in it. Verses of the Quran that once felt familiar suddenly feel deeply personal. The heart becomes more aware of its need for Allah because many of the distractions that once occupied it are no longer present. This does not mean loneliness becomes enjoyable. It simply means that Allah can create tremendous growth through experiences that initially feel difficult. Some of the strongest believers developed their deepest connection with Allah during seasons when they felt isolated, uncertain, or emotionally exhausted. Those moments forced them to seek comfort from the one whose support never disappears. There is something beautiful about turning to Allah when no one else seems to understand. Human beings can offer support, but they cannot fully know what exists inside another person's heart. Allah knows every thought before it is spoken. He understands every fear before it is expressed. He sees every tear that falls when nobody else is watching. He knows the burdens we carry, even when we struggle to explain them ourselves. When a believer begins realizing this, their relationship with Allah changes. They stop viewing worship as a routine obligation and begin seeing it as a source of healing. Prayer becomes a place of peace. Dua becomes a place of honesty. The Quran becomes a source of reassurance. Instead of feeling completely abandoned, they begin recognizing that they have access to the greatest source of support imaginable. Many people spend years searching for peace in places where it cannot truly be found. They look for it in people's approval, achievements, wealth, relationships, or status. While these things can bring happiness, they cannot provide lasting security because they are all temporary. People change. Circumstances change. Opportunities come and go. But Allah remains constant. Sometimes loneliness teaches a lesson that comfort never could. It teaches that true strength comes from relying on Allah. It teaches that human beings, no matter how much they care, cannot fill every need of the heart. It teaches that the most important relationship in life is the one between a servant and their creator. There are moments when a person looks back on a lonely season years later and realizes that it was actually one of the most transformative periods of their life. At the time, they felt confused and discouraged. They wondered why things were not working out. They questioned why certain doors remained closed. Yet later, they see how those experiences shape them into someone stronger, wiser, and closer to Allah. Perhaps a person wanted a relationship that never happened. At the time, it felt heartbreaking. Later, they discovered that Allah was protecting them from something that would not have been good for them. Perhaps they lost an opportunity they desperately wanted. Later, they found something better that they could never have imagined. Perhaps they experienced loneliness because Allah was preparing them for responsibilities they were not yet ready to carry. Preparation is often uncomfortable. Before a person reaches a new level in life, they usually go through a period of growth. That growth requires patience. It requires learning. It requires trust. It requires developing qualities that will be necessary in the future. Imagine receiving a blessing before being prepared for it. Sometimes what we ask Allah for requires a stronger version of ourselves. It requires more patience, more wisdom, more maturity, or a deeper connection with Him. Allah knows exactly what we need before giving us what we desire. This is why difficult seasons should never be viewed only through the lens of loss. They should also be viewed through the lens of preparation. The challenge you face today may be developing qualities you will need tomorrow. The loneliness you experience now may be strengthening your relationship with Allah in ways that will benefit you for the rest of your life. Hope becomes especially important during these moments. Shaitan wants people to believe that their current situation will last forever. He wants them to think that because they feel lonely today, they will always feel lonely. Because they are struggling now, they will always struggle. Because they cannot see a solution. No solution exists. But that is not how life works. Every season changes. Every hardship eventually reaches its end. Every night is followed by morning. Allah repeatedly reminds believers that ease accompanies hardship. Not after hardship alone, but with hardship. Even when difficulties exist, signs of Allah's mercy continue to surround us. Sometimes the blessing is already beginning while we are still focused on the pain. Sometimes doors are opening while we are staring at the ones that closed. Sometimes Allah is arranging opportunities, relationships, and solutions that we cannot yet see. A believer should never underestimate what Allah can do in a short period of time. Circumstances that seem impossible can change. Hearts can heal. Situations can improve. Opportunities can appear unexpectedly. Allah is capable of creating pathways where none seem to exist. This is why loneliness should never lead to hopelessness. Feeling alone is a human experience. Even righteous people experienced moments of sadness, uncertainty, and emotional struggle. What matters is how we respond. Do we allow loneliness to pull us away from Allah, or do we use it as an opportunity to draw closer to Him? The believer who chooses the second path often discovers blessings they never expected. They develop inner strength. They gain wisdom. They learn patience. They experience a deeper sense of faith. Most importantly, they build a relationship with Allah that remains strong, regardless of what happens around them. If you are currently going through a lonely season, remember that your story is not finished. The chapter you are living today is not the final chapter. Allah is still writing your journey. The difficulties you see now do not define your future. There may be blessings on the horizon that you cannot yet imagine. There may be answers to your du'as already on their way. There may be opportunities being prepared that will make sense of everything you are experiencing right now. Keep turning to Allah. Keep making dua. Keep believing in His mercy. Keep trusting His wisdom, even when you do not understand the process. The same Allah who carried you through previous difficulties is capable of carrying you through this one as well. The same Allah who created countless solutions before you were even aware of your problems continues to manage every detail of your life with perfect knowledge and mercy. And if this reminder benefited you, be sure to subscribe to the channel and join us for more uplifting reminders that strengthen faith, inspire hope, and bring hearts closer to Allah. May every reminder be a source of encouragement during difficult days and a reminder that no matter how alone a person may feel, Allah's mercy is always nearer than they realize.